Dakshine Kalike. Kring, 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 hom, hom, kring, 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 hom, hom, kring, 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 hom, hom, kring, kring. Swaha. Om.
Namaste. So, after thinking things over a bit, I decided to open up the focus a little bit. We've been looking at things through a very narrow lens. The lens of the interior, internal, direct experience of spiritual life. And we've dealt a little bit with externals in the level of karma yoga, Dvaitavada. But we haven't really opened up the focus to examine what is our role in the world. And I know this is a concern of a lot of people. I chose to ignore it for a long time for a reason. And the reason is that people are so preoccupied with the world that they forget about their own internal process, their own direct lived experience of the world. And they start to see themselves in terms of what other people think, or in terms of some ideology or some religion or something like that. Well, let's take a look at this and make it all clear. There are three things that we're concerned with here. Us, ourselves, and who we are, what we are. The world, and what it is, and what's happening with it. And then our role in the world. So, what influence do we have, or what activities do we have, or what is our attitude toward the world, and what are we trying to do in the world? These are all questions that I haven't touched, but I think it's time to touch on them now, because maybe one of the things that's missing from the channel that puts people off is that we don't have any clear idea, or we haven't made any clear statement regarding our role in the world. So first of all, who are we? Who am I? By we, I mean anybody that feels themselves in simpatico, in an understanding in common with us. By us, I mean we. And me. And I've often said, I'm not a guru, I'm not a teacher, I'm not a leader. What am I? After thinking it over, looking at it for a long time, the only word, the only term I can come up with to describe myself is that I'm a shaman. I'm a shaman. I am a member of a pre-industrial culture, a culture that lived in harmony with the earth and with all people, without assigning categories or classes or roles, but where each individual took his as-lived experience in the moment and responded appropriately. Now, culture is the exact opposite of this. Culture says you're an American, or you're a European, or an Australian, or an Indian, or you're a Christian, or a Jew, or a Hindu, or a Mohammedan. And therefore, you have to follow these values. We reject that. We say culture is not our friend. Culture is not here to help us. Culture is an exploitation. And the proof of that is Look at what culture is doing to the planet. So you can say that, yes, we have to have some cultural standards and blah, blah, blah. But this is the talk of the male-dominant hierarchies. And the dominator hierarchies are controlled by the masculine energy. But nowadays, even women have become so perverted by this women's lib and other things that they want to take up the same game and compete for the hierarchy status and roles in the culture. See, we don't buy any of this. What is a guru? A guru is a cultural role. What is a teacher? Same. What is a therapist or a counselor or any of the other things that I might call myself to describe the work I'm doing? These are all dominator culture, male hierarchical roles. And like I said, I don't support that. I don't support any of it. My ways and my views and my methods also hark back to the days before industrial culture, before agricultural culture. When people lived in harmony with the earth, they didn't call any place mine. The idea of owning land was completely foreign to them. They simply roamed and rambled over the earth, and they lived a peaceful life in harmony with nature. So I'm a member of that culture, if you want to peg me in any culture whatsoever. But actually, I see myself as a transcendentalist, above culture, above morality, above philosophy, above religion. I really don't buy into any of those things. Although there are symbols and metaphors and structures from ancient cultures that are less screwed up and neurotic than the present culture that are sometimes useful in trying to present the idea of a transcendental culture, a transcendental state of being. And we use those. We use them, but we use them as metaphors, not as literal beliefs, not as ideologies. That's why I don't say, I'm a Buddhist, I'm a Hindu, I'm a this, I'm a that. Because I don't subscribe to their ideology. I'm beyond that. I'm a transcendentalist. So, all right, the movie's half over already. What is the world? The world is an emanation from the Absolute, whose object is to reach union with the Absolute. In other words, the state of manifestation, the state of creation, the state of name and form and objects and consciousness is fraught with a certain tension. And that tension is that it is separated from Brahman. It's separated from the Absolute. There's a split deep down in the roots of this kind of being that we call the world. Jagat or Jagrat. There's a deep split. And so the impetus of all life and of all beings is to try to heal that split, to bring the energy of the creation back into union with Brahman. And you might say, well, that sounds a lot like the goddess. And yes, the goddess, the mother, is one of the best metaphors for this situation, for this energy. So that means our culture, and actually all cultures, I mean our present culture, is struggling within its self-imposed restrictions and limits to get back to the state of union with Brahman. And we see in nature a long history of accelerating change, innovation, invention. I mean, just look at Mother Nature, how she works. A single tree may produce millions of seeds, and in a few of them there are some mutations, genetic change. And out of those millions of seeds, some small percentage may survive and take root and grow. And if any of the mutations give some survival advantage or adaptation, then they will survive and grow and eventually become the dominant genetic strain. And similarly, in human culture, we have introduced epigenetic mutations. We try this, we try that, we invent something new, we develop it, it fails, we fix it, we make a new one, somebody else copies it and changes it, and so on. And so, especially over the last 250 years, the industrial age, we've seen a tremendous increase in the complexity and the novelty of industrial design and production. The problem is, our bodies and minds are controlled by genetic evolution, while the pace of epigenetic evolution is multiplying exponentially every year. So we can't keep up with it. We feel stressed. There's an impulse to just burn it all down, go back to the forest, back to the land. And there's another impulse to somehow make it better. And of course, that just increases the amount of and rate of change, evolution, and novelty. So novelty is increasing exponentially, but our intelligence is not. So we try this and we try that, and none of it seems to work. But guess what? A time is coming called death. And at that time, we will again merge with Brahman. We'll be reabsorbed in Brahman. And then we have a choice. We can stay there or we can come back. So finally, what is our role in all this? What is the role of a transcendentalist in a materialistic, scientific society? Our role is to destroy the limitations of ideology and to rise above the different highly compartmentalized classifications of knowledge and being and activity, and ride this wave of accelerating change back to union with Brahman. That's what a shaman does. A shaman develops all-encompassing awareness from the material world and senses and body all the way to the pure light of unconditioned Brahman, and experiences it all simultaneously. That's what I've been hinting at here all along. Nobody seems to have got it. But that all the four yogas, all the four states of consciousness, all the four views of reality can coexist simultaneously. And they do, with a little self-inquiry. One can actually observe them in real time, within oneself. So this is what a shaman does. See, this is why we don't follow all the old rules about celibacy and restrictions on sexuality and diet, although vegetarian diet I have found is good for me. And this is why we can switch channels in a moment from Buddha's teaching to Sri Vidya to Advaita to Vedanta to yoga, or anything that we find it useful to discuss. Because we're not in any of them. We're not with any of them. They are not for us. They are not myself. They are not who I am. Who I am is an open question. But if you have to give it a word, call it a shaman. I'm the one who plays the role of standing outside of everything and looking in and giving my views with the idea to help other people disconnect from the hardwired categories and classifications of ordinary existence. And in future videos in this series, we'll look deeper into all of these questions, and we'll try to help you understand who you are in relation to the world as it is today and as it's going in the future. Aum Tat Sat. Aum Shakti Aum.